everybody, and thank you for giving your time this evening to all of the committee members who are here, and for those of you who are attending in the audience, thank you for giving your time this evening to join us. Before we jump into our formalities for the night, I want to quick toss over to Mr. Marshall Freeman for a quick announcement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I feel like each meeting that we come together, we seem to have something to celebrate. And so tonight is no different. And so who has been our very first deputy chief to join the group, then, as you guys might remember at our last meeting, went to assistant chief, has now received another accomplishment today and has been named the interim police chief for the city of Atlanta. And so I'd like to take a second to congratulate Chief Shearbaum, who has been a tremendous partner on this project, and obviously seeing it through. And even again, it speaks volumes to him joining the call and continue to being a part of this process. And so just would like to say congratulations from us all, and thank you for joining, Chief.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations, everyone.
All right. I hope you were prepared for us to embarrass you a little bit today.
It's all good, ma'am.
Well, thank you for that, Marshall. And again, congratulations to Chief Shearbaum. With that, I will go ahead and toss over to Madam Chair, Sharon. I believe I just saw you. There you are. Ms. Sharon Williams, so that we can move through our roll call.
Sure. I just want to say, where's the champagne? But okay. We'll just announce the names. Allison Clark.
Present.
Patricia Culp.
Present.
LaShawn Atwaters. LaShawn.
I've not seen her join yet.
Okay, Jerry Basin.
No Jerry either.
Ann Phillips.
Here.
Thank you. Sherry Nichols.
Shirley, present.
Wonderful. Ophelia. Lee.
I've not seen Ophelia either.
Okay. Jacqueline Rainey.
Here.
Interim Chief Dearborn.
Here.
Thank you. Sharon Williams here. Lily Punnett. Sean Billingsley.
He is actually coming over from the other room now.
Oh, he is. Okay, great. Hollis Turner. No. LaShondra Burks.
Present.
Nicole Morado.
Here.
Amy Teller.
I'm here.
Tori Tucker.
Present.
Dustin Hillis. I'm not seeing him. Okay.
Nope, not seeing him either.
Okay, and James McLemore.
Present.
Wonderful. Madam Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you very much, Sharon. I appreciate it.
Hold on, Sharon, did you get me also? Sean Billingsley?
I did get you, Sean. Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that, now that we have quorum met, I will move through very quickly so that we can adopt the agenda and approve of minutes. I would like to incorporate those into one motion if possible. So if there are any objections to either adopting this agenda or approving the minutes from our last meeting on April 26th, please speak now. Otherwise, it will be considered unanimous consent.
Allison, I have one correction on the minutes. On the 5th page, my first name is spelled ending in L-Y-N, and it's spelled L-I-N-E.
Okay, I will make that adjustment.
Yeah, it's correct under the under the first page, but on the 5th page it's L-I-N-E instead of L-Y-N.
Okay, I will
Thank
make
you.
that adjustment on page 5. No problem.
Thank you.
With that, if there are no other amendments to the minutes, then I will ask that the minutes be approved with the adjustment on page 5 to properly represent Ms. Rainey's name. Are there any other objections? All right. With that, our minutes are approved and the agenda is adopted, and we can move into the first piece of business for tonight, which is our committee report, which we will start with the Educational Partnership Committee. Mr. Freeman?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And so I'll do the Educational Partnership Committee and then go into a green space committee portion. And so on the Educational Partnership, as you all remember in our last meeting, we did take volunteers to sign up for the Educational Partnership Committee, and we did receive those folks who have volunteered to serve additional time, and we appreciate that very much. And so in between this meeting and our next meeting in June, we will convene our very first meeting for that Educational Partnership Committee. And so at the very next meeting, I imagine that we will have a committee report from the work and the focus of that particular committee. And then likewise, as we move into the second ask for this meeting, as we talk about breaking into committees, would be around a green space committee that would be able to work. Bob Hughes has agreed to lead that committee, in which we appreciate you, Bob, again, volunteering more of your time. So Bob Hughes will run point on that committee for the green space, but the focus will be able to continue to work on the trail connection and trail design, which is will be in conjunction and in concert with some of the other nonprofits, some of the other partnerships, and obviously some of the parks entities as well, to continue to envision that space. Secondly, it will also work on some of the areas as far as sidewalks. And then lastly, some additional items like bicycle lanes. And so when we talk about how we continue to make sure that the space is accessible for everyone, that will be the focus of that committee. And so what we'd ask for, Madam Chair, if we could, volunteers that would like to volunteer for that committee could potentially submit their names. I would be happy to collect them and be the receiver of them if you'd like, again, for you guys to submit names prior to, if we can maybe set a date. I'm happy to, again, do whatever the committee deems appropriate, but maybe at some point by the end of this week or the top of next week at the latest, to be able to submit those names for those who would like to participate in that committee as well, then that would be great. And moving forward, we would have a committee report at each of these meetings from each of the work groups that have been assigned to these two different areas. Bob, any additional thing you'd like to add there, or any color you'd like to paint on it as you do so well?
It's going to be the coolest committee, so everybody sign up for it. You know, no limitations. We'll take everybody. And secondly, whoever's on the education committee, if appropriate, we would love the volunteer time to teach young people how we go about planning and doing what we've been doing here. And so I would like to throw that offer out to that committee to consider as well. It would be fun to do.
Oh, that would be lovely. And any, I mean, it's quite a gracious offer. Let me start there. But any opportunity to provide more opportunity for community is even better. So I really appreciate the fact that you're willing to throw that out there.
Absolutely. It would be fun. It's fun to do.
And as for the Green Space Committee and getting that up and running, can everybody agree that by Tuesday, a week from today, May 7th, to have your names into Marshall Freeman if you're interested in participating? Don't I see Sharon, your hand is raised.
Yeah, so I am interested in serving on the committee, and I thought if there's anyone else who's interested, if they can just say it now, we can enter it for the minutes. And if that's fine, they need to think about it, that's fine too.
Well, this is Shirley Nichols, and I'm going to volunteer for the Green Space Committee. So you can take my name now. I don't have to send it in later, huh?
That's right.
Corey Tucker, I would like to volunteer.
Thank you.
Nicole and Amy want to know what kind of commitment this would really involve. As
Bob, you
far as
probably-
like time and stuff like that.
yeah, Bob, you're probably best suited to speak about the time on the Green Space Committee.
But, you know, we want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I think that, you know, if we can set good agendas and input, being able to kind of outlay, you know, thought, you know, and kind of hourly, we can do those as Zoom meetings in between these kind of meetings. There's also probably a time where we'd want to get out and walk the property and look at some alignments of sidewalks, et cetera. And we can certainly coordinate that. Glad to do that on the weekend. I want to make sure that anytime that we're doing, and we're making it such that everybody who's got other obligations can do those obligations, and we still make this work. So hopefully that's helpful, Amy, Nicole.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you can put me down, Sharon, to participate.
Okay, and this is?
Nicole Murata.
Oh, thanks, Nicole. Thank you.
I'll get back to you. I'm just not sure if I can commit at this point. So
That's fine.
Fair enough. We'll still leave it open until May 7th. If anybody wants to get back with either Sharon or I believe Marshall's collecting names. And so if you do want to get back to them by the 7th, please do so. Oh, I see Miss Ophelia Lee has joined us. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct. And also Hollis Turner.
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
Just to bring you two up to speed, we were just discussing a green space committee, and we are taking volunteers for that committee. You can respond right now on the call if you're interested in serving on that committee, or until May the 7th. You have an opportunity to respond. And this is a committee that will be evaluating some opportunities for the green space, including trail connection, sidewalks, bike lanes, et cetera. And so if either of you are interested in serving on a committee that would do any of those functions, please make sure that you respond to Marshall Freeman no later than May 7th.
I mean, June 7th.
Yeah. I'm sorry, June 7th. Yes, thank you. This year is flying by, isn't it? One of these days.
That's what happens when you have small children. Time flies by.
It sure does. I swear they both just got here, and yeah, here we are. All right, ladies and gents, with that, I think that was everything in terms of volunteers for that committee. Again, you have until May 7th to respond. I will quick jump in here. Oh, Ms. Culp, did you have something?
No, I was just saying June the 7th, right?
June, yes, I will get it together. I'm just gonna plaster that right across the wall, so I will remember that. All right, I wrote it in my notes, June.
I'll get back with Marshall as well. I need to check my schedule.
Absolutely. And then there are quite a few of us in the area that have been heavily invested in making sure that those pieces come together. So especially those of you that have been involved in that process, please seriously consider joining this committee. With that, June 7th deadline, I want to make another quick announcement on what we are doing for public input. All of you received prior to this meeting the link where we can have individuals to subscribe so that they can provide feedback and receive updates from the committee. I need to make sure that you all are sharing this out to your networks. Tomorrow, the update that was sent to each one of you will go out to anyone who has signed up to receive updates. It will, of course, go to each one of you to post or e-blast, et cetera, however you communicate with your networks. But we want to get as many people as possible to sign up so that when we send out these updates, they are in direct receipt of it. Also, so that when we send out links to our surveys, they have an opportunity to participate and be heard in this process. Hearing back from them allows us to incorporate that discussion into our meeting. So again, please make a point of sharing that information out. And if you haven't signed up yourself, please make sure that you do. The last little bit that I do want to make mention of is outside of the surveys, at some point we will pull together a committee that will work towards arranging focus groups so that we can sit down and have more in-depth discussion with various groups that are impacted by this project, and get their perspectives, and of course incorporate that into our feedback during these meetings. So as we move through that, just consider what level of participation you're willing to put in, and how we can move forward through that. I did not hear back from any member of this committee outside of Sharon with respect to the survey, with information to be shared to the public. So if you have any questions or areas of interest that you think need to be incorporated on the survey, please make sure you respond with that information. This Friday is the absolute deadline to provide that information. Sharon, I believe your hand is up.
Yeah, Madam Chair. I know it's kind of general there, but I think, I was reading a lot of the articles around this effort. And I think there's some misinformation out there. And I think it's time for the committee to go on the offensive. So as we think about strategic stakeholders that we want to sign up for information, I also think this group has a responsibility to reach out to especially the perceived quote unquote opposition, or maybe people just aren't sure about what we're doing. So as we think about who are some of these concerned stakeholders, I'd like us to start thinking about being proactive and engaging some of these impacted groups or people who think they're impacted, and making sure that we get the opportunity to sit down and talk with them.
Agreed. And that is exactly what ultimately a committee will look like. A group of people that are willing to have that necessary engagement with these groups so that they can report back to the broader committee on what is being said, what is being heard, and make sure that we have an opportunity to consider that in our discussions.
That's great.
With that,
and I guess,
I'm sorry.
No, I would just offer that, I'm very concerned about some of these things, and I'm happy to take the lead, maybe working with Marshall and some other, members of the Atlanta city government to reach out to some of these groups.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks all around.
Well, before we move into the security update, I have one area where I absolutely fell short today, and I did not take a step back to introduce to the committee Miss LaShondra Burks, who is the Deputy COO for the Mayor's Office. She has now joined the team, so she will be with us on these meetings. I am so sorry, but we are so happy to have you. With that, Chief Sherbaum, I will toss to you to provide the security update tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, good evening, everyone. We always want to thank you for the work you're doing for the women and men of the fire and the police department, many of whom you will never meet, and also for the many neighborhoods of our city for the work you're doing. And they will be beneficiaries of this input in the very near future. So always want to never pass the opportunity up by saying thank you. I do want to do an introduction tonight with my new responsibilities. There will be occasions that I may not be present. I will still certainly be working on this initiative, but when I can't be present, ensuring we have a representative from the police department that is here to answer your questions and to be part of this collaborative effort. Deputy Chief Tyus, who is on the call this evening, is our Deputy Chief over our Community Services Division, which does entail our SWAT and firing range resources that are very close by, as well as our community outreach and community policing initiatives, among many others. So I wanted to introduce Chief Tyus this evening and let you know he will be representing the police department on any meetings that I cannot be present. So Chief Tyus, would you like to introduce yourself before I give or say hello before I give the security update?
Thank you for that gracious introduction there, Chief Sherbaum. And again, as everyone else said, congratulations on your well-deserved appointment. As you said, I'm Carvin Tyus, Deputy Chief of Community Service Division. I've been with the Atlanta Police Department about 28 years now. I recognize there are huge shoes to fill in this role, but I will be as engaging and as accessible as Chief Sherbaum has been. So feel free to reach out to me, and I will definitely put my phone and email in the chat for anyone that may have any questions or concerns or want to speak with me offline. So thank you, Chief Sherbaum.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Madam Chair, just part of the security update, I wanted to update on two situations. One of which you all were very aware of, which occurred on May 17th. That was when the department, with our partners, went in to remove a number of illegal structures that had been erected on the site that is planned for this training facility. In doing that, there was a group of individuals that attempted to disrupt that initiative. We did make 7 arrests on site, and then unfortunately we had individuals that did deploy 3 Molotov cocktail type devices at our officers who were stationed up around the gate area. Because of that, we did close traffic on Key Road. This is an action we try to avoid doing. We want to make sure that our effort in the area is not disruptive, but safety must always come first. And so the decision was made because of the tactics being employed, that we would have the ability to ensure the safety of residents going into and from their home or otherwise traveling through the area. So our officers will always assist in moving around where we may have to have any type of temporary closure. And we will try to move quickly to brief you, Madam Chair, so you can pass on to the members of this committee when we have to do that. But just please know it is something that we will not do unless it's just absolutely necessary for the safety of the community and the first responders or any contractors that may be working in the area. As I did note in my press conference that day, and I think it's important to reiterate, the 7 individuals that we arrested do not have any community ties to those neighborhoods that are represented on this call. They were all from outside of the state of Georgia, with the exception of one who was from the city of Gainesville, Georgia. So we want to make sure that we pass that along in these settings. Also want to speak on our helicopter being over the air. The air resource, when it's deployed, depending on time of day and the situation, we understand that may be heard in the neighborhood and inside certain homes. We are very mindful of that, and will only deploy that resource when we believe we have trespassers on the site, individuals that may be engaging in any destructive or criminal activity. That is an air resource that we're bringing in, our air asset, to assist and guide the officers and our partner agencies who are working in the area. We do try to limit that, and we'll continue to try to limit that. And just to reassure you that we will do that when it's in response to something that would cause us to call in the helicopter. And then in addition to those 7 arrests last week, last Friday, we did arrest 4 additional individuals who were trespassing on the property. Again, my report shows that none of them were from any of the neighborhoods represented here, and were individuals, 2 of which we believe to be opposed to the project, and 2 that just happened to enter onto the area and were engaging in some criminal mischief that was not associated with this particular project. We want to make sure that anytime we are in a space where we're deploying resources more than usual, that we work quickly to inform you all so you're aware, and to know that we are working to ensure that these efforts are as least as disruptive as you all as they can be. Madam Chair, I'll certainly open the floor to any questions that you or members of the committee may have.
Thank you. The floor is open. Thank you very much for that report. The floor is open. If you have a question, please raise your hand and announce yourself as you speak.
Amy Taylor.
I see Miss Ann Phillips has her hand up. Oh, Amy, I will come right back to you. Miss
Okay,
Ann
no
Phillips.
Interim Chief Sheriff, I read the article, and as I read the cities and states that these protesters came from, I couldn't figure out in my mind why they were here. Did you all ever, I guess in your questioning of them, find out whether they were being hired to come to do this, or were they a part of, say, one particular organization and this is all that they do, just go from state to state doing this? Or were you able to ascertain any information as to why they were here, particularly in Georgia, doing this?
Yeah, Ms. Phillips, that's a good question. And the bigger why behind this is certainly a part of the investigation, and primarily in the purview of the FBI and the GBI who are assisting this investigation. Motives aside, why you would travel here, there's a few ground rules that remain the same. This is property that is not a park. This is property that has always been used for training, that if anyone enters on it, it will be criminal trespass. If you damage, burn, build on it, that is criminal actions as well. So regardless of the motive that brings them here, our approach is going to be the same. You can't be in the property. You can't be committing crimes. to try to further whatever agenda you may have. And I think as our investigative partners determine more of the why, they will make us aware of that. But right now, motive aside, I would just refer, some individuals have taken to social media to take positions of being opposed to certain public safety infrastructures. Others have taken to social media to oppose certain for reasons of green space, which this committee has been doing a great job in educating around. Absent those motivations, we encourage everyone to exercise their First Amendment rights and do it peacefully and do it in a manner that adds to the conversation and contributes to this project. And absent that, we will address any criminal activity that occurs on the site.
Thank you for that question, Ann, and the response, Chief Sherbaum. Amy?
Hi. In response to that whole situation, those of us who live right here next to it, we had no idea what was going on. It was pretty scary. I mean, the helicopter disruption was quite notable. Is there a resource that we can look at, or some kind of notification system or something when something like that is going on, and we can look it up and go, okay, there's a situation at the property, so we don't need to be too alarmed about it because you guys have it under control or whatever? Just some kind of heads up, because it gets a little scary.
Yes, ma'am. I certainly think that is an area we can improve in and will improve in. We have tended to use our social media, our Twitter or Instagram, whenever we do have police situations occurring inside the city limits. And we want to ask individuals to avoid the area and work around. So we will get with our public affairs team to ensure that anything occurring in this area can be communicated on that line. And for those of you that may not have social media, but I do encourage you all to follow us on those 3 platforms. To determine, Madam Chair, I don't know if we have an internal chain that we can establish that once someone sees it on our social media, or you do receive a call from Chief Tyus, that is something you can distribute to the group, because we understand not everyone may be on social media, but to be able to establish that internal communication network, so when you do see it on our social media, it can be quickly distributed, because we don't want any of our responses to be more concerning than what we are responding to. And to understand that when you see the helicopter, it is for safety. The helicopter gives a perspective that is so unique, and it allows us to put the right resources in the right areas. So we do minimize that disruption, and the resources we bring to bear are actually the right ones that are needed. So that's the vital need for the helicopter, and to know that we also will use other means to be able to give us that perspective when they are available.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Chief Sherbaum. And we can absolutely establish that internal chain so that the information goes out. And I fully understand we won't know everything in real time, but there's an opportunity for us to be able to communicate with respect to what's happening. I can say, just from my perspective in my community, and Amy, you, Nicole, and I share a very similar perspective in that we are so close together. I guess it was May 17th, that evening, we saw the smoke, and it's concerning when you see that. I know a few years ago we had that big tire fire, and it makes you wonder what's coming next and what all is at play. But we also understood after a short bit of time exactly what was at play, and we're hopeful that things do tamp down such that, as Chief Sherbaum mentioned, whatever protest takes place happens in a peaceful manner and is not disruptive to those of us who are living right over here. That's not a desirable aspect of this at all. And so I think that, I know you all are working very hard to make sure that changes. Do we still have trespassers on the site, or do you think that they're mostly gone at this point?
That is something we check every day, Madam Chair. When we do encounter individuals, there will always be the opportunity to inform and educate. Any individual being arrested for criminal trespass has previously been advised not to be on the property, what the boundaries are, and that if you do return, there will be an arrest. So right now, we do not believe anyone is on the property. That could be changed. That could change. And if we do encounter anyone, then if they've been forewarned, an arrest will be made. If they haven't, we will provide them that due warning.
Good to know. Thank you very much. I see Ms. Atwaters has joined us this evening. Good evening, Ms. Atwaters.
Good evening, everyone.
Do we have any additional questions for Chief Sherbaum? All righty, I don't see any hands up. With that, we can move into our due diligence update. Mr. Allen Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to talk about 3 items tonight: preservation, the acoustical study, and lastly, the site development permit. On the preservation, as we discussed in our last meeting, we engaged a master's class from Georgia Tech, along with their professor, to come out and scan the 2 stone buildings on Key Road. They're on summer break now, so after they get back from summer break, we're going to re-engage the students or the professor from Georgia Tech, along with the Atlanta Preservation Center and our design team, to continue the study of these structures. So they'll probably pick back up in the fall, and that'll kind of parallel with the architect's construction documents finalization at that same time. I also always want to remind everyone that our study does not include the existing prison, because that is out of our lease area. So when we talk about what remaining structures, what structures will remain, we are not talking about the main prison building. So we'll clarify that. Second, on the acoustical study, Amy, I don't think you were in the last meeting, but I thanked everyone for allowing us to use your site and multiple sites for the sound monitoring equipment. That helped out a lot. That work is continuing. It's a combination of data collection and modeling, and it's going to take probably the next 4 to 6 months for all that data to be collected and analyzed and put into the model. We have to do some more on-site activities to collect that data, so that'll take a while to come back with kind of a model and whatever analysis can be performed. Lastly, the site development permit. We have submitted to the DeKalb County for our site development permit. Our team of engineers and consultants have submitted their design to the DeKalb County for their team of engineers to review. It's a process that we need to get feedback and comments, and that process is ongoing right now. We're expecting our first round of comments to come back the next several weeks. If you ask yourself, when is the permit expected? I would probably say 3rd quarter of this year. So it's a great collaboration of our engineers and consultants, such as Bob on the landscape and the arborist side, along with our civil engineers, working with the DeKalb County engineers to come up with our permit. So that's the 3 areas we're working on right now: the preservation, acoustical study, and also the status of the site development permit. Does anyone have any questions?
I would like to just add one comment to that, if I could, and that's just that at the point to which the site development permit and everything is completed and approved, then we'd be happy to also share out that entire packet with this entire committee, and then also the public.
Thank you, Marshall.
Thank you both. The floor is open for questions. Please announce yourself before you speak. Well, look at that. I guess you are off the hook, Alan Williams. I don't see any hands raised this evening.
Hurry up, move on to the next subject.
There we go. There we go. Let's go quick.
Oh, wait, no, just a quickie. I just do want to
Sure.
acknowledge that, like, the committee raised a concern. It was Starlight community. Hey, you need to check the sound over in our community. And again, the vendors and the consultants were responsive to community need, and that enhanced the results of the data collection. So I just want to acknowledge that again. We've got really good partners that we're working with.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Sharon. Well, if there is nothing else, we will skip forward to our next piece, which is just general discussion. If anyone has anything that they would like to bring up, now is the time. Please raise your hand so that you can take the floor. But before I turn it over, I just want to make a quick mention to everybody. I know we've had several short meetings, and that is the nature of the beast right now. We've covered a lot very early on in this process. And I just want to note that we will continue to have our monthly meetings. Some will be short as we get results back from these various studies. Some of those meetings will go a bit longer, but continue to bear with us as we move through this process. I show our next meeting as being June 21st, 6 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you all there, and hopefully we have our committees pulled together, and at least one of which will meet between now and the next meeting. That being said, the floor is open for any general discussion items.
So Madam Chair, this is Sharon. Yeah, there's a couple of things that have been weighing on my mind, and I just got back from vacation, and so I sent out some emails to the committee members a little last minute, and I apologize for that. I had asked Marshall Freeman to track publications around the efforts, and because I wanted to get a sense of what's happening in the media, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of it all. So thank you, Marshall. You sent the information when I was out on vacation, but I forwarded the articles and tweets, et cetera, to all of you on the phone. And again, I think there's some misinformation. I'd like the committee to actually review the materials that I sent. And please take note of who's authoring some of these. I do want to bring to the attention, there is a committee member that is publishing information that is not representative of the collective. We are here to represent our communities and the collective effort. And I don't think any of these articles went through you, Madam Chair. I don't think they went through Marshall Freeman. I don't think they went through the City of Atlanta. One of them was actually written by one of our advisory members to the Atlanta City Council. And so I think we need to talk about that. And I think we need to talk about attendance because there are a few people who have been missing a few meetings. And so I'd like to have that for our meeting in June to discuss.
Absolutely, and thank you for that feedback. And I think particularly with one of the items that you just mentioned, going out to City Council, it's something I mentioned before. It can create confusion about what is the stance of the committee versus what is an independent stance. And that is the very reason that we ask that the communication come through the committee chair, but that does not always happen. And so, I think to Sharon's point, take an opportunity to review that which is out there. The actual committee report will go out to City Council as the committee's report and not an individual report on perspectives. Granted, we are all open to having our own perspectives, but we have to represent them as exactly that. With that, Ms. Phillips, I see that your hand is raised.
So just to confirm, we are going to send some form of rebuttal concerning this request that she sent to City Council. And the second part of that question is there any truth to what she's saying regarding the groundwater surveys and whatever? And when I say truth, I don't mean whether she's telling the truth. I'm saying, is there any possibility that somewhere something was overlooked and we did not address it transparently?
Fair enough. We can absolutely ensure that there is a rebuttal. And I think that the committee update itself serves as a rebuttal because it speaks to exactly the work that we have done as a committee as a whole. But in terms of sending a direct address relative to what has gone out there, that can be crafted as well. As far as whether or not there is any truth to the comments that have been made, and just for clarity, transparency, we are talking about Lily Ponitz here and having sent these items over to City Council and several of the articles that a reference. While I realize committee members are aware of that because you were in receipt of the email, in the event that anyone watching has any question as to who we're talking about and what the situation is, it is Lily Ponitz's communications. And so to that, I would ask that, I guess maybe Marshall Freeman or whoever's, okay, Marshall Freeman, if you can address whether or not there's any truth to what is out there and anything that may have been missed in the investigation that this committee needs to be aware of.
Sure. Yep. Happy to jump in there. Thank you. And I appreciate the question, Ann, and at least giving, again, an opportunity for me to respond to that question. And what I will say, again, for speaking for APF and on behalf of each of the architects, land planners, and engineers that we have convened to work on this project, I think all along, if anybody took just 2 seconds and Googled and took a look at the folks that we have convened to do the work at the site, I think everybody would agree that it is a top-notch, world-class team that has been responsible for building and creating some of the most impactful projects that exist in the city of Atlanta and in our entire region. And so therefore, as we continue to do each and every bit of the work, we are obviously obligated to follow the laws of the city ordinances of DeKalb County, each and every single state ordinance and law that exist in the state of Georgia, and any federal laws that exist in the United States for how construction projects are developed. And so there is in no way, shape, or form a time or an opportunity for us to ever skate, again, do anything that falls short of that. I think every single opportunity that we have had to speak to the group and do the design and the architecture of all of these buildings and the property, we have tried to exceed what the minimum requirements have been established by the government for the project. And so even when we talk about doing LEED and doing all of the extra, smart things for as far as charging stations and vehicles and things out there, we have went above and beyond every single time to make sure this is something that everybody can be proud of. And if we are going to attach our name to it, meaning the Police Foundation and my personal name, frankly, because that also means a lot to me, I would never in my life ever put my name on the line for something that I wasn't 100% proud of. And so that's just not how we roll. We never did that for every construction project that we've ever led in this city. And this would be no different for us. And so I appreciate the opportunity to respond.
So Marshall, you will be the one sending out the, to refute her claims? Will you be the one, or will it come from Bob or Alan or exactly?
I'd like to respond to that. We have a really good process in our committee, and we have the engineers prepare the document, the report. We give it to the committee. We also give the committee time to look at it and read it and respond with comments or questions. We immediately get our engineers together and we take every comment and every question and respond to it. So anything that is out there now is a repeat of something we've already responded to. We've done it with both the environmental reports. We just recently did it with the cultural report. We had a committee member that came back with a comment and a question. We responded not only to every comment and every question, we also amended our report and put it back on the public domain. So we're not taking any comment or question lightly. We're trying to answer every single one of them. And to date, there is nothing new that has been asked. And so everything that's out there now, Marshall, I may be wrong, but we're spending a lot of time and making sure we're serious about answering your questions.
So in other words, you're going to refute this in writing tomorrow, no later than tomorrow. And the reason I'm asking is, as I read it, I noticed she said, "Dear council member," but she did not indicate the name or names of the council members to whom it was being sent. So my resolve was that she was sending it to all council members. And we have some that are still not on board with the project itself. And so I think that as quickly as we possibly can get that information to them, just something in writing to them to prove to them that what she's claiming is not accurate, the better for us. She's escalated from here to here. And I think I don't want to speak for all of us on the board, but I think the majority of us have just about had it up to here.
Yep, I appreciate that, Ms. Phillips. And so what I would also say to that is what I also, again, feel like would be helpful is, again, council hearing from this body again, and you guys have obviously developed the report in which Madam Chair has and will distribute to council, but I think them hearing it directly from you all, I think will be important because it's, again, you speaking versus me speaking, right? You guys are speaking because you've been involved in this entire process and you have seen it throughout and you understand what we're doing. And so I do think that will also be helpful.
What I will do, I am actually, while on this call with you all, putting the report into an email so that you all will see the full report for City Council, but I will craft a separate letter that addresses this concern. I don't want to incorporate it into the report and make it part of the report. Our report will stand on its own, documenting the work that has been done to date, but I will craft a supplemental letter that can be distributed alongside that addresses the claims that have been made and where the committee stands on that front. And then I will distribute that to each and every one of you as well.
Madam Chair, just to kind of fine tune that, if I may make a friendly amendment, could you please send out your the letter that you're going to be drafting, the supplemental letter, to the committee prior to it being sent? I think it's what you intended to say, but I just wanted to make sure we were clear. That's one. Then number two, to kind of complement what both Marshall and Ann were saying, again, I think there needs to be either the city's public affairs person, but a proactive communication on behalf of our efforts. I loved what Marshall had to say about, we do have top class engineers, et cetera, working on this project. We are engaging community input. We are looking at environmental concerns. I think there needs to be something proactive sent out as well. And maybe
just to clarify, when you're saying, go ahead.
Oh, no, and if, we need to make a formal motion on that, I'm happy to do it.
That sounds good. If anyone feels that that's necessary, more than happy to take the motion to move forward. I have no problem preparing the letter and sending to committee. That was in fact my intent, Sharon, in my earlier statement that the letter would go to committee first. In terms of making a motion, are you suggesting a motion for all of our like development partners, et cetera, the APF to also craft something?
No, Madam Chair, that the Atlanta Public Affairs Office would address, would issue a public statement so that we can proactively communicate to the media about how positive and community engaged this effort has been to date.
I will begin moving through those channels to see what we can make happen, and then I will send a response back to the body as a whole so that we can make sure that we're all informed on what the process will be going forward and all of the different channels that we can use to make sure that our committee's message and appropriate reporting is made available. Because I do think there's definitely, there's two fronts. There's misinformation and then also just a lack of information right now. I was approached by somebody this past weekend who was completely unaware of some of the work that we've done to date. And I understand that they would be unaware up until this point, which is, again, why I've asked that people sign up to receive the updates so we can start blasting that information out wide and far and make sure that people do know what good work we are doing. This committee has come together and really rallied on some important issues. And so I am proud to serve alongside each and every one of you, and I'm proud of the work that we've done to date, and I think that we can continue to push forward, but I certainly think that we need to do better with respect to the narrative. So we will certainly push forward with that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you all for your input. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns, general gripes?
One more.
Sure.
So we've said the name Lily Ponence, and I want to give the members time to review the articles, but her name has been on a number of the articles. She has written a number of the articles under her name. And I think we just need to address membership. Should someone like her be a member of this committee?
Fair enough. Ms. Culp, I see your hand raised.
Madam Chair, I wanted to ask if you have received any information from Lily saying that she does not want to be a part of this committee. Have you received any information from her personally, or a letter to state that she no longer want to be a part of this committee?
No, not at all. Up until today, I mean, she's been a participating member of this committee. I think prior to today, she's missed only one other meeting. So she has been here. She communicates between meetings. She's asked for various reports and updates coming out of the development team, as well as the APF. So I do not get the impression that she does not wish to be a part of the committee.
Yeah, my only concern with this is that I'm just not happy with people speaking for me or as for my community, and I don't even know what they're speaking about, or I'm in disagreement with what they're saying. I just think that's just out of alignment for me. I think she's out of line. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. Everyone has a right to their perspective. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us, Tori. I think one of the things to consider is, and it takes me back to a conversation we had during one of our initial meetings. And I took quite a beating from some interesting press articles, you know, in that the committee has a voice, and that voice needs to be a unified voice, and that voice needs to be representative of the community or the committee perspective and not the individual perspective. And I think that's where a little bit of the challenge comes in here, especially when I consider that the letter to City Council went out while Ms. Ponitz was serving as secretary of this committee, and it would stand that the secretary of the committee would send out communication on behalf of the committee. And this is what we were attempting to avoid early on by having communication travel through the appropriate channels, so that we make sure that when the committee speaks, that it is in fact the committee. Now, if you, the individual, have something that you wish to say, again, you are always welcome to have your perspective. You're always welcome to say what you need to say, but you need to be very clear that you are not speaking on behalf of the committee or in your capacity as such. And I think that the confusion that is out there, I don't appreciate it, because I know that we've gone through this process, and I think that all of us have put in a lot of work and a lot of effort to make sure that we are being very considerate and very thoughtful in the way that we're moving through this process. And so I think that our communication absolutely must reflect that. And so on that front, I will make sure that what I send to you all as a committee is respectful of that. I ask that you review it as soon as you get it, because I think that we need to move most immediately. I think Ann put it best in saying that it needs to go out tomorrow. We need to put this together, and we need to make sure that the committee's perspective is known, and that any other independent perspectives need to stand on their own. And the one last thing that I will say for this evening relative to that is, and I said this before, our committee requires us to be able to be neutral in our perspective.
Yes.
No matter whether you were in support of the project or if you are opposed to the project. Our committee works under the understanding that this project is moving forward, and we are to advise on the many factors that impact our communities and those that we are engaged with, to make sure that as the project moves forward, that we have a voice. And anything that is outside of that does not belong as a part of this committee's operation. And so I know we had this discussion before when the minutes came up. There were, articles to be included in the minutes that were not discussion items for this committee. And I took exception to the way that particular scenario was handled, because at the end of the day, what comes out and what is representative of the committee has to be the committee's voice. And so I will make sure that we do a better job of that, and make sure that we do a better job of standing independently with our perspective, regardless of what happens relative to Lily Ponitz and her communications. Or anyone else on the committee that chooses to do so. So far, I think we've only had one. With that, are there any other questions, comments, concerns, general gripes?
I just have a question.
Sure.
And this is more personal than anything, because I'm facing a similar situation with the Atlanta Planning Advisory Board. Somehow or another, millennials tend to think that they can write whatever they want to write in all of these little newspapers, and they are supposed to be able to do that. And of course, they do have that right. But ultimately, what is our alternative as a board? And officially, we are a board, since we are a base board, since the city council established it. And so when you have a person who's become rogue and doing what they want to do we have any definitive resolutions as to what we do about a person or people in these situations? I don't, Marshall, I don't know whether you've ever had to deal with something like this or not, but there should be something written somewhere that can protect us as a board. And the reason I'm using the word protect, she has written several other articles that some of you may not have seen. She has been deliberately cautious in naming names of us members on the board, but it's no secret as to who we are. When you do stuff like that, you have to be concerned about how you're impacting the reputations of those people on that board. And I don't get the feeling that that's an issue in their minds when they do that. So I have requested a meeting with the city's inspector general, simply because I need to know. But if any of you have heard anything as to what we can do in a situation like this, I'd love to hear it.
One thing that I can say is that our bylaws, of course, give us room to move. And so if it is the committee's perspective that an individual is harmful to the operation of the committee, or even, I mean, we have the opportunity to move based on cause or without cause if this committee determines that anyone should not serve on this committee going forward. So options exist within our own structure. Yeah. If then you are looking at a scenario where what the city allows, then we would certainly have to pursue that through the city. And I don't know, who on the committee would be best to speak to that. And I don't know if Brian is with us this evening. He may be a good person to speak to that as well, and give us options through the city in terms of how we handle that. Because one thing that we did not put in place is that media policy that we discussed earlier on. But I do know there are ethics clauses to be considered. I'm sorry, Ms. Culp, I think that was you.
I wanted to suggest that we take a look at our bylaws and add to what Allison is saying. And on June the 21st, we come back after we take a look at the bylaws and see what can be done with the situation, because I think the bylaws will address what Ann is saying.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, this is Sharon. Ms. Culp is correct. The bylaws say that we can control our membership. We can term a member at will or not, but they have to be given notice. Now, I forgot how many days notice precisely. I think it's 10 or 14.
It's a 10-day notice period for any committee member.
Okay, thank you. So it's a 10-day notice period. So, if the committee wanted to vote on this week or wait until next month after you've had a chance to read all the articles, we can do that, but we certainly have the provision within our bylaws to do so, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. And
yes.
And if someone is making a motion or is moving toward that, then the 10-day notice will be supplied. You can do so during this meeting. You can do so in a follow-up communication if that is the general feeling of any committee member, and then we move through the process. The entire committee would, of course, be notified, and then we can either address at the next meeting, address via a special meeting, vote via email if needed. So this committee will be the determinant on how we move forward with respect to the bylaws.
Okay, but we're a base board, and that means that it is established through the city council. And I'm trying to determine whether, even though it's in our bylaws, whether we have some obligations as a base board or some steps that we need to go through. Because as a base board, it's always appointments. And in all of our cases, we were appointed by a specific person, this council member or commissioner or somebody. So I'm not quite clear in my mind yet that there is not some step that we need to go through as far as reconciling what we want to do with the base requirements, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. I don't believe there are any additional steps. That being said, I will craft an email again this evening to go over to Brian, who is counsel representing us as a committee, and I will get a direct response so that we understand exactly what is required. I will make the committee fully aware, and then from there, you all can determine if there are any additional steps you want to take. And if I need to supply the notice, let me know. I will make sure that goes out.
Madam Chair, would it be helpful if we had a motion from the current stakeholders to provide perhaps additional guidance or strength as to how the existing committee feels about Lily Ponus's presence on this advisory? I would require a motion, and the motion would be something to the effect of, we would like to term her membership on this committee in accordance with the bylaws and city ordinance.
If a motion is made and a second, we can accept that this evening. What we won't be able to do is move into a vote. We can have any discussion that committee would like to have, but we won't be able to move into a vote on it until that 10-day notice has been given. And so absolutely, with a motion on the table, that moves the process forward. I still think, to Ann's point, that we would consult with council just to make sure that everything is as it should be, which obviously is something that would not happen on this call. But that consultation would take place. But I guess the short version is, in order for the first steps to take place, if this is the will of the committee, a motion should be made. So made and seconded.
So then let me be clear on what the motion would be.
Yes.
I'm not making it, but I just want to make sure people are clear that we're saying that the motion would be to terminate Lily Pond's membership on the committee in pursuant in accordance with our bylaws and in consultation with the city's council.
Sharon, is that your motion? And I can
No, I'm putting it forth for someone to carry.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure, Ann, if you wanted to carry it or not.
Oh, Ann, you're muted.
If that's what you want, Sharon, that'll be fine. But I agree with Allison that before we can even get started, we do have to have a motion that has been moved and seconded by this body. So, that's fine. Why don't you move it and then I'll second it for you.
Right.
Do that.
Okay, fair enough. So moved, Madam Chair.
All right, and second, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much. So the motion, and Sharon, will you please read the motion to me?
Sure, I motion to terminate Lily Ponit's membership on the committee in accordance with our bylaws in consultation with Atlanta City Legal Counsel.
Okay, the motion as stated by Ms. Williams has been made and seconded. Accordingly, a 10-day notice period will commence as soon as I have an opportunity to get this letter drafted and out to Ms. Ponitz. I will try my best to get that going tonight, if not first thing tomorrow. She will receive it alongside all committee members. Additionally, during this time, I will make sure that we consult with council and move through the appropriate steps, and then committee will come to a vote. As of now, I guess we will set the date as our June 21st meeting. Is there any objection to setting it as June 21st, or are you all looking to come back to the table in 10 days' time?
June 21st.
June 21st. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then let's leave it as June 21st for our follow-up. However, the 10 days notice will of course go out, giving Ms. Ponnett's advance notice since she is not on this meeting tonight. And of course, because our bylaws do in fact require it.
And Madam Chair, may I recommend that it be sent to her both regular mail and certified mail for protection purposes?
Absolutely. All right, well, with that, we will start moving this process forward. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns at this juncture?
Yeah, can we just clarify the vote, Madam Chair? We don't necessarily need to do a roll call, but either vote by exception if there's anyone who would like to not approve this vote.
Well, we cannot take a vote on whether or not we are terminating Ms.
We're gonna
Potts.
vote
What we
next
can
week.
do
Got
is
it.
now, right. So at this point, no vote is to be taken. She has to be given proper notice per our bylaws. And so the motion is made, the motion is seconded. Now it starts the process of notifying Ms. Ponnett's. And then at our meeting on June 21st, we can revisit and have whatever necessary discussion and a vote at that time.
Begins. Thank you.
Absolutely. Amy, your hand is raised. Or is it Amy or Nicole?
Yeah, so the motion is to give her notice, or the motion is to terminate her?
The motion is to terminate, and that motion has been seconded. Our bylaws, however, require that she be given 10 days notice of any such action. And so even though the motion can be made, we cannot move any further until she has been given that 10 days notice and that period has expired. So what this does is set the wheels in motion. It is, hey, the committee is interested in terminating Lily Ponnett's. We have a second on that. We cannot vote on it as a committee tonight. We can vote on it after she has been given an opportunity to be notified. And that notification is 10 days.
Will she be given an opportunity to speak against us?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, can she, this just feels like, kind of, I mean, I'm not saying that this is wrong, but it doesn't feel right either. I feel like this process is witch hunting at this point, even though I get it. I understand everybody doesn't want her speaking for them. I don't want her speaking for me either, but it seems, I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me. Sorry.
Again, no need to apologize for your perspective. I think that I would ask of you to maybe even elaborate on what does not feel right with respect to the process. But I will also say that the process outlined by the bylaws would have us to make a motion, have that motion seconded, provide her written notification. It is a requirement of our committee to do so. And so to the degree that any committee member chooses to move forward, it does not mean that the vote ultimately results in her removal. That will be for the committee to determine. Unfortunately, this evening, she is not on this call to be able to speak.
Right.
Which she has every opportunity to do. If she were present tonight, she would be able to speak just like any of the rest of us. That being said, nothing would happen tonight, no matter what, even if she were present. She will be given that 10 days written notice no matter what, after which point she has an opportunity to speak before this committee. So because we're not taking a vote until June 21st, she can speak at that June 21st meeting. She can speak before the meeting should she so choose. If we were to hold a special meeting in 10 days' time, she would have an opportunity to speak as any committee member would.
Okay, so really, it seems more likely that she's being given notice that this is our intent, and she has an opportunity to speak up for herself before our next meeting where we will vote on it.
Yes, that is
Am I
exactly
correct?
where we are.
Okay.
That is exactly where we are.
Well,
Absolutely.
I mean, that seems more fair to me. I mean, I realize that she's been slightly difficult for some people to deal with, and but regardless, I think that as long as she's given a chance to stand up and say something, even though she's kind of already done that, but anyway, thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your feedback. And at the end of the day, no matter who is impacted by this, anyone that finds themselves in this position always has an opportunity to speak in response to what is being put before them. It has to be put before them before they have an opportunity to speak to it. And so, yes, she has said quite a bit publicly to date, but she has not yet responded to this action. This action is now in motion. Notice will be received, and then as mentioned before, she'll have an opportunity to respond as we move through this process. So if that still seems fair to you, that is the process that is outlined by our bylaws. And so that's the way we are moving.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
No problem. Are there any other questions or concerns? And not necessarily relative to this topic. The general discussion is still open. Oh, I see a hand raised, but this time Nicole, go for it.
Thanks, Allison. Yeah, this isn't necessarily 100% relevant, just something I'm kind of sensing in the air, so bear with me. I think and I appreciate, us having time to kind of read everything and kind of go over. I would say, as somebody, that maybe is falling in this category, like, I would hope that people kind of, be a little conscientious of some biases on, generational differences and things of that nature. Just want to, I know we're all of different, diverse backgrounds and everything, which is good. I just want us to be cognizant of how that might, we have unconscious biases, so.
Thank you, Nicole.
Doing the millennial thing of calling that stuff out.
Well, you're in a safe place.
Exactly. All input is welcome here. And I think at the end of the day, you're calling it out in the right place. And that's what's really important here, is that we're having this discussion. I see Miss Rainey, your hand is up.
In reference to what was just said, sure, we may have differences, but what makes one person's input more important than another one's? We should be at a point where we can discuss differences and collaboration and not have all of this nonsense going on.
I agree.
And I don't feel like that has anything to do with whether I'm Black or white or Asian or whatever, or I'm older than you are, or I'm younger than you are. We should be able to discuss these things and not have this unnecessary stuff going on, because we were appointed to this board to get something done. That's it. I'm just disgusted with what, I don't like stuff like this. I don't like this kind of.
Oh, you're muted, Jacqueline. Come back to us.
I don't like this because it seems like it's backhanded stuff going on, but then there's a pretense that nothing is happening in the meetings, and I don't like that. I think that's wrong. And if we're going to have disagreements or differences, we should be able to discuss them openly in the meeting, and not try to accuse people of doing certain things. And nobody of any other race can tell me how I'm supposed to feel as a Black woman, as a Black person. So I wouldn't try to do that to any other race either. So that kind of nonsense shouldn't even be a part of this, because when I read that letter, I thought this stuff is ridiculous. It's fine to know our history and learn about things that happened, but we don't drag that stuff into our future. We're trying to live and go forward with our lives. So I'm all about moving forward. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Ms. Rainey. And I think that one of the things that we have to do as a committee is make sure that we do a better job of controlling the narrative. And I know that we are a group of volunteers serving here to work together towards a common cause, which is making sure that our communities are represented as this project moves forward, and make sure that the project is respectful of our communities, which to date, every time we put something forward, I have to give the APF, the developers, so much credit for being responsive to what we have put out there. And so, I think that we have created a space where everybody has an opportunity to speak, no matter your perspective. You have an opportunity to speak. And the important thing is that you come to this table and have those conversations so that we as a committee can make sure that we have an opportunity to answer for what's being put before us. And sometimes we'll get our way. Sometimes we will not get our way. And we have to accept that and move forward and understand that we got to do the work of this committee at the end of the day. And so, again, with a group of volunteers, it is very hard to move through that PR piece and make sure that we correct that. But I am going to take that on as another focus to make sure that we are represented appropriately as we move forward. And this committee is going to move forward, it seems, with this motion so that we can address the behavior that is of concern to date, and then ask that all other committee members continue to be respectful of the process, respectful of the work that we are here to do, and make sure that our perspectives, differing as they may be, have an opportunity to be heard, because it matters that all of these perspectives are here. We just have to be respectful of one another. Is there anything else this evening? Okay, I'm sure you guys hear my one-year-old screaming in the background at this point. Hopefully it's not too loud. He's upstairs putting on a show. So one thing that I do just want to point out, if you think about what time we finished our discussion tonight and then moved into our general discussion, and how much time was spent on this topic, that's of concern to me. This committee has got to be in a place where our time is used for the purpose of the committee. We shouldn't be spending time addressing administrative matters. Granted, yes, this has to happen. I mean, this is where we are right now, but we need to be at a place as a committee where we are doing the work.
Absolutely.
Without disruption.
Yes.
And so our focus needs to come back to that by whatever means necessary. So we will all continue to follow up in the coming days. You will see quite a bit from me in the next 24 hours. Please read what comes before you, respond as needed, and we're going to keep moving through this process. And one thing I will say to each and every one of you is thank you for your input. Never apologize during these meetings for having whatever perspective you may have. It is your perspective. It is representative of either yourself or your community. That's why you're here. You're here to have your perspective. So please do not apologize for your point of view. With that, thank you all. Oh, Ann, hand is up.
There's just one last question for Bob and Alan and maybe Marshall. How soon before we can do another walkthrough of the site to see what the progress has been?
I would answer that one. I would say from my perspective, and we can definitely organize that now. The only thing I do think is that there is still not anything to really see at the site and from when we walked it the last time. And so it essentially still looks the same today. All of the work that everybody's been doing has really happened on paper, right? And planning. And so there's unfortunately not anything to really look at there. But again, happy to do it anytime. And even if that means that I can meet anybody at the site, whether it's 1 or 2 or 5 or 50 of you guys, I'm happy to do it anytime.
Oh, no, I didn't mean anytime soon. I meant, say, before it gets wintry. We'll
sure.
get far enough along that we can take a tour and just kind of see what has been done.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, I definitely will say that. Let's definitely look to do that maybe at the latter part of the summer. That would be great.
Okay.
Are there any?
I would add to what Marshall said to say sometime before we start construction, but is not beastly hot.
Good point, Bob.
Agreed. Agreed. I want to throw one thing out there relative to what Ann just said in terms of getting out there from a security perspective. This committee knows, and I don't know, how much it's known in the general public, but there was a nice nasty gram that went out to my community as a whole about me and my service to this committee, about even the committee's work, which, you know, I am, according to this note that went out to my community, I am anti-Black. I am opposed to the Muskogee Creek people. I'm a whole lot of terrible things. And apparently 100 years ago, I was up to some bad stuff. Didn't know I was here for that, but here we are. But the reason I bring that up here in this forum is to say, are we safe and secure when we go to this site? When we consider that, you know, even individuals are being targeted, you know, I mean, to be targeted in my community was quite upsetting, but at the end of the day, it's a choice that someone or some individuals ultimately made. And so what does it look like for us to be able to go out to the site, given all of the activity that has taken place?
Yeah. It should be a concern.
It's a concern. When I saw that, when you shared that with me, and my concern as a volunteer, I mean, I'm a tax-paying citizen. I'm not here to get attacked by people who are trying to bully their way because they have an ideology that we all should have to believe in, and we don't understand what they're talking about. That's kind of mental illness borderlining that. So I'm just concerned about all of our safety on this phone too, because they have our information. That, you know, this whole propaganda stuff, I just think that we just need to be careful, because I'm a volunteer, and I'm not trying to get caught up in a lot of craziness that I don't understand. I'm a community person paying taxes, trying to have a better community. That's what we're here for. And all this craziness is just it's crazy. It's just out of hand. So that's my concern.
Absolutely. It's unnerving to be in that position. And I hope that no other committee members have to, you know, be in that position where you have to have a level of concern for your home, your safety, your community, et cetera. It's not fair to anyone on this committee. And at the end of the day, we are advising on something that has been put in play by City Council. This is not something where we decided what would happen. We are the people who have been charged with making sure that our voices and our community's voices are being heard. And so it's a little concerning that we would find ourselves on the receiving end. It's certainly misplaced, but it doesn't change the fact that, you know, some of the propaganda, some of the narrative relative to changing this has been placed on this committee. So hopefully it can be a safe space for us to be able to move about and do the work that we're charged to do. That said, I see Amy, Nicole, I'm not sure which one of you, but a hand is raised.
Yeah, I just had a question as far as an update on like actual when groundbreaking is going to be.
We don't have a date right now for groundbreaking, and I did share on the last call that as we continue the activity on the site, and once we do start that, Nicole, it's again a very unfortunate thing, but as much as I would love to publish that timeline and give that completely to the committee and make that completely public, I do feel like for the the safety and the concern for the workers that are actually doing the work, at this point, given where we are, I would not feel comfortable publishing that timeline. And so I will just tell you that we still are on track to, again, move into the permitting process. As you heard Alan talk about earlier, we have already, again, begun the work for the land disturbance permitting, which we plan to have in Q3. And then we'll be moving into permitting and then look to still have the facility up by the end of 2023.
Marshall, would you feel comfortable about just giving us like a ballpark?
Or up by
Like, you know, like maybe fall or, you know,
You said up by 2023, up, what is
And
up?
no, like facility open end of 2023 has been our
Okay.
goal. And so what I would say
Okay.
is that, again, after we receive the land disturbance permit back and we share that information with the group, then we can have some conversations about a little bit more in detail about timeline.
Thank you both for those questions, Marshall. Thank you for your response. I see Ms. Sharon Williams, your hand is raised.
Yeah, just one final thing on language, that this isn't just craziness. These are eco terrorists, and these are acts of terrorism. And it's not just propaganda And they are breaking equipment. They are threatening 74-year-old men. They are threatening people in their homes. These are people who don't even live here trying to tell us how to live. So I think this is, I want us to use that term eco-terrorism. And I'm somebody who cares deeply about the environment. I have solar panels, I recycle, I do everything I can. These people are terrorists. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Sharon. I appreciate your commentary.
Madam Chair, if I could just say again, I know that as we're wrapping up the comments, I know we're almost out of time here, but I would again just like to re-emphasize to everybody and just restate, as I do every single meeting, how much I appreciate you all. I think the entire committee, you guys have been phenomenal partners to have along this journey and throughout this process. And so I do apologize, and I will, again, publicly state for the record that I do feel bad, and I'm sorry that you guys also have to go through some of the things and concerns and safety concerns in which you've expressed this evening, because it should not be like that. Again, when we're all trying to pull the rope in a direction in which we design and develop a facility that is seen as a plus and a positive for each of your communities and each of your backyards. And so it's sad that we have to be in this place. And again, I apologize for that, because when we ask you guys to serve on this committee, I would not have dare imagined a year ago that we would be sitting in this place today. And so again, I'm sorry for that, but I do appreciate everybody's help and hard work. And so just thank you all for this.
Thank you for that commentary. And again, I'm not sure you're the one that really needs to apologize, but it's appreciated that you are willing to take that position on our behalf. It's unfortunate some of what has happened and some of the ways that some of our names are being treated, but this is unfortunately the nature of the beast. But I think we're a lot of strong-willed people that are going to stand up and keep doing the work that's before us. So much appreciated. And I appreciate every single one of you that serves on this committee, all of you doing the work in the background, all of you doing the work right here up front. It's important that we can all come together and have this forum. And so we need to keep pressing forward. We need to make sure that the communities are represented. And we are lucky enough to have, a partner in this, in the APF and in this development team that has been very responsive to date. And again, no, we won't get everything that we want out of this, but at the end of the day, we're being heard, and that's important. And I'd actually argue we've gotten most of what we want. And so the process is moving along the way that it should. So thank you all. I see Amy, Nicole, one of you, hand raised. Go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to, this is Amy. I just wanted to reiterate the meaning behind all of this, because I think we all have different views on this project in the beginning. Whether you were for or against it or whatever, that's not why we're here. And I just want to put it out to you guys and to the public. We're all here for the benefit of this community.
Yes.
And we are trying to make this project the best thing that it can possibly be for everybody involved. We are not anti anything. We're just trying to make this the best it can be and make at least most of the people happy in the process. So
Absolutely.
Just wanted to say that, because I feel like this whole, a large portion of this meeting has been unfortunately negative. And I just wanted to say again, we are here for the positive. We're here to make positive change for the community and hopefully all the people that are involved.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that, again, is the purpose of this committee. We are charged with one responsibility, and it does not involve our perspectives on the project. That being said, I don't know that I agree that the meeting has been overwhelmingly negative, and I say that just because it's necessary discussion. It is business that must be dealt with because of a situation that is before us. But what it is allowing us to build on what we are going to do going forward that makes sure that this committee moves in the way that it was always intended to move. And so I think it's a refocusing and making sure we put down a proper foundation so that we can move forward the way that we need to. With that, if there are no other questions, objections, gripes, concerns, or otherwise, we have made it to 7:28. We are 2 minutes out from our end time, which I promised you all a short meeting, so I'm sorry, I lied. I lied a little bit. I didn't know I was lying, but here we are. That being said, if anybody has anything else to throw out there, I will accept one additional comment. Otherwise, I am going to call this meeting adjourned. Do we have any comments, concerns, gripes, etc.?
Thank you. Just thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Can I get a motion to adjourn before you all say goodbye and disappear on me?
Motion to adjourn, Madam President.
All right, can I get a second?
Second. Pat call.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Thank you very much, Shirley. We are adjourned 7:29 p.m. and please keep your eyes open. There will be some emails coming.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.